We've got a little over 6 months left in the year, and if you wait until December, it might already be too late. So these 5 retirement moves could help you avoid thousands of dollars in mistakes, but unfortunately only if you do them in time. I'm a financial advisor for early retirees. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through each move that you can make so you can make timely adjustments now and avoid a lot of stress later. Let's start with the most overlooked move, which is an absolute goldmine, and that is last year's tax return. Most people file it, then completely forget it exists, but the reality is that it's not just a receipt, it's a roadmap. In fact, hiding in that document are line-by-line clues about how to lower this year's taxes and optimize your retirement plan going forward. And line by line, really ultimately what it's going to show you is whether you're doing Roth conversions right, if your withholdings are dialed in or they're way off, and if your drawdown strategy is quietly hurting your future. But most importantly, it reveals whether last year's planning actually worked, and if you're not checking that, you're guessing with this year's strategy. Say you retired early, that return is going to show you if you're someone that needs to stay under certain ACA subsidy cliffs, if your Roth conversion plan is working or not, and if your taxable portfolio is blowing up your taxable income. Filing is only half the job. Analyzing your return now is what prevents penalties, missed opportunities, and a lot of future regrets. So now that you got the return in hand, let's talk about what it means for your portfolio. June is what I call a halftime check-in, and the tax return is going to quietly reveal how tax smart your portfolio actually is, because even if you have a well-built portfolio, it can be leaking performance because you've got the right investments in the wrong places. Here's what a lot of people know but don't actually take the time to see how it's affecting them. And that is the different types of investment income that you have and how they're all differently taxed. For example, non-qualified dividends and short-term capital gains are taxed as ordinary income, which are higher rates, while qualified dividends and long-term capital gains are taxed at lower, more preferential rates. And depending on your marginal bracket, it may be more tax efficient to use things like tax-free income vehicles like municipal bonds or bond funds instead of taxable income options. And then secondly, when reviewing your tax return, I could start to understand if we have capital loss carryforwards that we can use for this year or future years to offset any sort of capital gains. For example, after looking at this return, I could see that we have over $30,000 in losses that are carried forward to 2025. And what this tells me is I can use that to offset any gains I realize for income or rebalancing I'd like to do in my taxable portfolio to get it back on track. And the research backs this up. Morningstar found that smart asset location paired with tax-efficient withdrawals can boost long-term utility by 3.2%, which translates to a 23 basis point bump in overall wealth. And according to Kitces, tax loss harvesting alone can add 20 to 30 basis points annually depending on your tax bracket and portfolio size. Now, over the time of 10, 20, 30 years, that's not a small change. It can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes saved throughout retirement. The reality is that taxes don't just reduce returns, they quietly compound against you. And if you play it smart now, you'll be in a position to have compounding in your favor instead. Next, maybe you're someone that built a fantastic plan 6 months ago or a year ago, but your plan is not set it, forget it. Now is a perfect time for a checkup. Now, what's happened this year? As we know, markets move, spending changes, so do some of your goals perhaps. And if you're not refreshing your plan by mid-year, you might think you're coasting when you're actually drifting off course. Now, as a planner, I monitor this on an ongoing basis, but if you aren't already doing this, now is a perfect time to start. Number one, monitor your income versus what your planned income was. Are you on pace with retirement withdrawals? Are investment returns helping or hurting the original timeline? And is your withdrawal rate too much compared to the original plan? And surprisingly, what I see happen more often than not is actually being way too conservative in your spending. Can you spend more? And then number two, are there any big expenses coming up that I haven't already factored in my plan? Do I have the cash set aside to do that? And if so, what is the impact to my plan? And number three, has portfolio performance created new tax opportunities or new risks that we need to be aware of? For example, I've talked to quite a few people recently that realized after the past couple months, maybe their investment plan that got them here over the past 20, 30 years is not going to be the same investment plan that is going to make them successful for the next 20 to 30 years. And now could be the perfect opportunity to understand if is now time for an adjustment and are we still on track to meet that definition of enough? And yes, taxes quietly play a big role here, because if you're not sequencing withdrawals efficiently, we could be paying unnecessary tax now and damaging the long-term glide path. Even subtle adjustments like where you pull income from can raise your plan success rate without reducing your lifestyle, and mid-year is the perfect opportunity to do it. So once you look at your long-term strategy, we're gonna have to zoom in on something a little bit more immediate, and that is your tax trajectory. We're gonna get really specific here. Now, tax surprises don't happen in April. They happen right now when no one is looking, and I like to say that mid-year is where I project where a client's income is heading and where the risk zones are. And if you're not checking projections mid-year, here's a few things that could potentially go wrong. Number one is you may owe the IRS more than expected or get a refund so big it means you gave them an interest-free loan, which they love. Number two, you could be triggering Medicare surcharges or lose healthcare subsidies without knowing it, which can be a nasty surprise in the next year. Or worse, miss your last best chance for any sort of strategic Roth conversions before your retirement locks you into RMDs. So here's what we do and what you can do to make sure you're setting yourself up for success when doing a mid-year tax projection. Of course, I can't get into every single detail, but I think these are really important frameworks that really help you get started. The first one's an easy win. It's projecting current income and review if your withholdings are within $1,000 of the final tax due. And if you do know you're going to owe taxes, sometimes it makes sense to earmark funds in another investment account or a high-yield savings account so you're not surprised in April. Number two is mapping out your expected tax bracket now and in earlier time because of that conversion window. I call this the Roth conversion sweet spot. Oftentimes there's this beautiful tax planning window to optimize your tax planning before RMDs kick in, before your Social Security, and running this mid-year projection can be the perfect time to evaluate if this year is the right time to do it. Number three is to check some of these tax torpedoes like IRMA cliffs, which if your income goes too high, you'll be jumping into paying higher Medicare premiums, as well as ACA health insurance subsidies. This is where realizing too much in Roth conversions or too much in capital gains could be a nasty surprise. This could mean maybe using losses to reduce capital gains income or finding out the perfect Roth conversion threshold so you don't go above any of those major brackets and triggering some of those thresholds. Because $1 over the line can cost thousands in surcharges or lost benefits. I like to say that now is the perfect time to re-anchor your tax trajectory and course correct while there's still time. And what I want to say also, this isn't just about a 2025 refund, it's about the next 30 years of withdrawals, and Roth conversions, tax bracket arbitrage, smart withholdings, all should be checked now, not at year end when it might be a little bit too late. So don't fly blind into the second half of the year. You can use this time as a check-in to project, adjust, and lock in every tax advantage that's still on the table. And once you've done that, once you've optimized your income, now's the fun part where you can optimize your impact. Many of my clients love giving and blessing others, or the charities they love with some of the fruits of their labor. And that may be you. You already plan to give, but what about the way you give? That's where most people leave money on the table. And I know we don't give to receive or do it just for tax savings, but giving generously doesn't mean giving inefficiently. For example, and this has happened quite a few times, I had a new client that was writing significant checks directly from cash in the bank to their charity. And I said, hey, you're pretty generous. And they also happen to have highly appreciated stock. What they were unaware of was that giving with cash means giving after paying income taxes on that money. So instead we put together a long-term tax efficient giving strategy, which was a ton of fun. And what it looked like is saying, okay, number one, this year with our current giving, let's give appreciated stock to charities instead of cash. And by doing that, we avoid capital gains, reduce risk, and we get to deduct that value of the gift. Number two, what we did is we set up what's called a donor advised fund. What a lot of my clients do is bunch multiple years of giving into one big deduction. And then from there, you can give directly out of that donor advised fund, kind of like a charitable checking account. And then you get a large gift write-off on your tax return. And then you can give as you please from that donor advised fund over time. And thirdly, with this couple, what we knew is that they're going to give throughout their entire retirement. We know they have a pretty significant pre-tax balance, and we knew that once they're 70 and a half, they would be eligible for qualified charitable distributions, otherwise known as a QCD, to give directly from the IRA to a qualified charity. That also means that we don't want to do massive Roth conversions. We want to keep enough in that pre-tax balance to take advantage of this, to give directly from the IRA and avoid the tax altogether. And also on top of that, those count towards their required minimum distributions. all these different things that we can uncover in June, looking at Schedule A under gifts, are things that ideally we don't want to wait until December, because doing this now, or at least having a plan in advance, gives you time to process paperwork, complete transfers, and actually execute smart giving before year end and before the year end rush derails it. What I love about smart giving is that it means you can often give more than you thought without paying more in taxes. And if we can get strategic about how we give, you'll keep more, give more, and feel better doing it. Now, I want to say that these 5 moves aren't about complexity, they're about timing. Each one becomes harder, more expensive, or flat out unavailable if you wait too long. So use mid-year as your reset point, start with your tax return, adjust your plan, and use this time as an opportunity while that window is still open and before it's too late. And if you're also somebody that's in the home stretch of retirement, that being maybe 5 years away from retirement, this could be the perfect opportunity to get started on planning, with the opportunity to actually double your nest egg using compounding in your favor and doing some smart planning ahead of time. So I made a video about that you should definitely check out right here, and I'll catch you guys over there. Once again, this is Matt Calcagno, Certified Financial Planner and Advisor over here at 1 Degree Advisors. If you'd like to talk to me or someone on my team about your plan to retire, early, we'd love to talk with you. Click the link in the description to schedule a call.